Conversation about outward appearance. So I stumbled upon this verse that really stood out to me, and it's 1 Samuel 16:7. And it said, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Um, Man, that verse, like, it stood out to me so much because lately I just been pondering about how people get so caught up in the outward appearance of who you portray yourself to be, or the version of yourself to every individual in your life, especially those in your immediate circle, such as your workplace, your church, your family, right? So it's funny, it says, but the Lord looks on the heart, not at the heart. Like, so it's like, what's on your heart at that moment, right? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it resentment? Is it contentment? Happiness? Like, what is it exactly that's on your heart at that moment? And to me, that was super crazy because I'm like, man, how many times do we get so caught up in trying to meet people's expectations and be the person that they envision you to be, right? Like, think of your parents, your career choice, your bosses maybe at work, just all these different things that weigh on you heavy on your day-to-day basis. But truly, God is just concerned about what's on your heart, man. Like, God is such a simple, sometimes simple being, that we overcomplicate. And it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild that we overcomplicate things, because God is just, he's incredible, man. Like, he just cares about what's on our heart. Like, who are we when we're in private? And what's crazy is that, like, we get so caught up in these negative perceptions of ourselves, and we constantly feel that we have to defend ourselves in front of people. And God is just like, bro, this is for your own good. Like, I want you to be the best version of you when you're alone. Basically, God is saying, you need to love the person you see in the mirror. And you need to weigh heavy on your mind. Think about what is right, what is wrong. And that is going to make you a better version of yourself, of who you truly are, right? Out there. Because I feel that most people that are in a stable mental health, right? And I say that for a reason, right? Most people can differentiate what's right and what's wrong, right? Unless you have a mental disorder or, something of that nature, then I'd be like, okay, maybe that's a gray area. But putting the gray area aside, I feel like most people know how to differentiate good and bad, right? So it's like God is like, yo, I don't care about that outward appearance. I do not, like, I don't want you to worry about that, right? There was another verse that tied along with it. It was in Matthew 6:1. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. For then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. And your Father, who sees in secret, will reward you. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. So, again, God says, don't try to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by others. Basically, don't try to put up a front wherever you go. Don't put a front with your parents. And this is your parents, with friends, with work. This is a lesson that I constantly also have to remind myself. It's like, be the version who you are in private, right? And be more concerned about what you do when you are alone, right? What do you do? What do you think of? What are you trying to do? If you're constantly if maybe you're like me, I'm an artist, right? So us artists are overly critical of everything we do. Like, I mean, bro, we have barely any moments of peace because we look at our art and we say, man, we're gonna spread this out to the whole world, and we overly criticize that thing over and over and over again. And even when it's out, we're still like, man, what could we have done better, right? And the thing is that, like, the same way that we released that song and I mean, you could probably take it down online, but once it's online, it's out there. It's like you can't take that back, right? It's kind of how our actions are sometimes. It's like the more we practice when we're alone to be a better version of ourselves, our speech, the way we carry ourselves, what we actually want to say, and how we want to be portrayed, then it's going to make a bigger impact when we're out there in the real world. Because then we're going to be like, man, I could be the version that I want to be, but let me be careful with my words. Let me be careful how I carry myself, because all that will always come back and reflect who I am, right? But again, don't be so concerned about other people's opinions, right? We could all try the same restaurant, the same plate of food. And let's say it's 10 of us, and all 10 will have different opinions as to whether the food was bad or good, right? No one's going to have the same give or take opinion because everyone has a different perception on everything. So don't get caught up on the perception of people of you, right? Be more caught up on how do you see you and how does God see me? And then when I'm out there in the real world, right? How do I want to be seen, right? And even if they don't quite understand you, that's all right. I don't think I don't think God ever meant for us to be fully understood because we're, you know, counted as joy when you go through various trials, right? It's what the word teaches us. It's like it's it's a good thing to experience pain and bad things and these bad perceptions of us, because then we can also cherish the good things, right? And we also don't want too much of one thing and less and too much of another thing, because anything in excess is usually not good for you. So, man, let's just ponder on that. Let's just ponder on, you know, what can we do in our personal private lives and our personal time with ourselves and with God, and what can we put into practice that'll make us the best version of ourselves, not to meet their expectations, but honestly to live up to what we want to do, right? What do we really want to do? And that's something that we have to reflect on, you know. It's kind of like a post I did, I created a couple weeks ago, where I said, what is your why? You know, you have to ask yourself, what is your why? Like, why do you do the things you do? Why do you pursue the things you pursue, or the career you're chasing after? Um, you know, what is your why? You gotta ask yourself that. So hopefully this encourages somebody. And remember, don't forget to drink a little coffee, stay motivated, and don't worry so much about the outward appearance. Worry about what's in here. Peace and love.